Hello and welcome to episode 6 of Games Every Designer Should Play, a podcast that explores what aspiring and seasoned designers can learn from some of the greatest games of all time. I'm Stuart Lilford, the Antonio Belpaese of game design, and I'm joined by two undead sassy witches.
Yes. I'll get that. I've been called worse. Yeah, I'm Adrian Mills. I can't remember any of the characters' name now. Bella Ponte was one. There's one like that. Anyway, yeah.
Oh God, and I'm David Grant. I'm just happy to be here.
I walk around with a garlic shield.
Yeah. In each episode, we'll be discussing one essential game and what we can learn from it. At the end of the episode, one of us will reveal to the others the game we must play for the next episode. Will it be beloved by all, or could it be controversial? You'll have to listen all the way to the end to find out. Today, it's my turn to choose. Will it be another game from 2007, or will I just choose a game simply for an excuse to go back and unlock all the achievements like David did? But for this episode, the game we'll be discussing is Vampire Survivors. Fair warning, the podcast will likely contain spoilers for the game, and you'll probably get more out of it.
The deep lore.
We don't want to spoil the story of Vampire Survivors for you. So if you haven't played it, go back and play it. Pause this episode, go back and play it. It's only cheap. It's not expensive.
It's £3.
It's £2. But we'll be talking about the game, assuming that you've played it.
Yeah.
But first, before we get into things, I just wanted to so I went through the list of enemy names in Vampire Survivors for ideas on what to introduce you both as, and I felt that Undead Sassy Witch was the one that suited you both.
I like that. Yeah, like I said, cold word.
Understandable. Yeah.
David, you've got some notes on the game. You want to just jump us off with?
Yeah. Spoilers. There's no vampires.
Immediately. Yeah, that's the other thing I noticed when looking through the enemy list in Vampire Survivors.
Yeah.
There are no vampires in this game.
So Vampire Survivors is a 2D gothic horror wave survival game, I suppose, with sort of roguelike elements. Its creator, Luca Galante, is that how you pronounce it? Galante?
I think so.
Started developing Vampire Survivors in 2020, I believe, where he was inspired by a very similar game, if you've seen it.
No.
It's actually a free mobile game.
Okay.
And you can very clearly see the inspiration. Like, it's basically you're walking around as this little dude in a forest, and you have these like silhouetted creatures that are coming to you and trying to kill you. And you get a load of little items, weapons, power-ups to kind of defeat them. So there's very clear inspiration there. And the other obvious inspiration is Castlevania, which you can see through sort of all the different characters, the levels, the setting, is very much inspired by that. So Luca Galante, he originally worked at, I found this, the worst McDonald's in the UK.
Right.
And he eventually left that job to sort of code slot machines for a gambling company. And you can kind of see from his experience working in the gambling industry how that has affected sort of various parts of the game mechanics, the game loop, and the kind of overall sort of graphics and sort of visual style of things. So eventually it was kind of initially released. It didn't do that well when it came out on itch. It was then uploaded to Steam, where it got the attention of a few kind of YouTubers that kind of it rose in popularity and spread across the internet. Eventually, with that sort of popularity, he got some assistance from friends, and then eventually hired some sort of freelancers to kind of accelerate development and kind of work on things via that, and eventually went on to release, I think, 5 different DLC with a couple crossovers. There was Among Us and Contra, sort of, fairly popular games that it kind of got that DLC for. So, yeah, that's the kind of intro for Vampire Survivors.
But what can we as designers learn from this?
I mean, where do we want to start? What do we want to start
Well,
with?
I want to know, did you get those achievements that you wanted?
I got a few achievements, yeah. I mean, that was me being funny. But yeah, I did want to get a few of the achievements.
I restarted. Because I'd originally played it on the Xbox. I bought the Switch version.
Yeah.
So I just restarted from a blank slate. so I wasn't achievement hunting.
Yeah.
I kind of did similar. So prior to this, I'd only played it on mobile, and then I thought for this I'll start again. I didn't feel like I got that far into it anyway, so I just started from fresh. Immediately regretted it and wanted all my stuff back. But when you delete your save, it's like, are you sure? Are you sure you're sure you want to delete all of your stuff? It gives you like, this is your last chance, and I'm like, yep. And then as soon as I hit that, I was like, actually no, I probably could have just carried on from. And then I played it a bit more mobile, and then I also bought the Switch version.
Okay.
And then so I essentially started it twice.
You've been
started it over twice.
Yeah, it's interesting because I played on PC originally. I actually looked at like the releases, and it was released on Tesla car.
Right.
You can play it.
Oh, really?
You can play it in Tesla car as well. Not that that's necessarily a good idea. But...
No, I don't have that platform.
While I'm on the M1, I'm just like playing a bit of Vampire Survivors.
Ooh, chest. Is it worth just talking about the general game loop, how it actually works in Vampire Survivors? So with Vampire Survivors, you kind of have a set list of characters to start with. There's like 3 or 4
I think
characters.
Well, I guess 1 initially. You have to buy the other ones.
You just start with 1 originally, and then this character is basically put into a landscape where you have a load of enemies kind of coming towards you in waves. You defeat the enemies drop little gems. You use the gems to level up your character. And when you level up your character, you get to either choose sort of new items, whether they're weapons, sort of attribute items,
passive abilities,
stuff like that. Or you can sort of level up your existing stuff to the point where you can eventually evolve them and kind of create interesting synergies with the different weapons.
And you have a total of 6 of each, can't you? You can have 6 offensive weapons and 6 passive abilities.
Yes. Yeah. However, if you're full, on the map they sometimes have pickups, and if you're full and you pick up an additional one, it adds it.
So there's a level of strategy there.
So you're like, I want to avoid picking this up so that I until I've filled out all my slots, so then I essentially get 7 slots instead.
It's quite interesting thinking about, because you were starting from fresh almost, and like I was starting at the opposite end, and the amount of visual clutter you get when you're like really far into like late game is it's quite interesting compared to when you start off where
just one thing I just want to come back to this sort of thing. Is it roguelike?
I
don't think it's got what roguelike element.
I would say it's not a roguelike because
I took the description.
Is it because you start off each run with nothing?
No, but the thing is, obviously you can debate the definition of a roguelike, but the levels are the same. The waves the enemies come at you is the same. Like they don't change. Like traditionally a roguelike, you've got generated levels or environments.
The
only
I
difference,
probably said it wrong.
The only thing that's randomly generated is the options you have to choose for upgrades. That's literally it. Occasionally the items on the maps might change, but the order in which enemies appear, it doesn't change. So I would argue it's not a roguelike.
Yeah, it has roguelite elements. I think I said it.
I'm not having a go at you.
Yeah.
I'm just like, it's not one.
Yeah.
I don't think. I would say it's not a roguelike. It's just got there's some random chance elements to it, to your run.
Yeah, because I think even like you get like elite enemies that drop chests and stuff, and I think isn't that at set intervals as well?
Yeah, everything's programmed. Everything's at a time. You always know at 11 minutes the skeletons appear.
Yeah.
Which is one of, I think the fact that it isn't roguelike is one of the things that annoys me about it. Sorry.
Really?
Yeah, it's because like, okay, I'll be like, right, so on this particular stage, I know that there's these boss enemies and these weapons, because a lot of this, how often are you looking at the wiki for this? On how to unlock certain things and how to defeat certain things.
I mean, when I first played through, I didn't really look for stuff. I just kind of tried to play it as much as I could.
Do the unlocks and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I was like, right, well, it's one of the, I can't remember the name of the level, but it's like almost like a cathedral kind of thing.
Yeah.
And there's like 4 different Reapers, and then you get one amalgamation of of 4 of them at the end. And it's like they're only there's like specific weapons that are more that damage them more. So if you're like, right, I want on this run to attempt to defeat these particular bosses, you're banking on getting certain items. So like one of them is apparently, it's called the Infinite Corridor or something like that.
Yeah.
I still haven't got it because you need the clock lance, you need the 2 rings to get to have that. But on the wiki it says like that will instantly kill these Reapers. So I'm like, I want one of those. But I'm like, where's the clock lance? It's not coming up. And so almost I'm like, right, if it was actually a roguelike and the environments were randomly generated and the bosses were randomly generated, then it would feel like, well, fair enough, I did what I could with my run. But it's like, I want to do a very specific set of certain things because very specific set of things happen in this level, but I can't because they're not appearing.
Yeah.
And obviously you get things to help you with that. So you can have the banish where you can get rid of certain items so they stop appearing when you level up, and you also get you can skip
and rerolls
rerolls as well, that kind of thing. So, but yeah, that's just I felt.
I mean, they're called stages, aren't they? So it's like a set thing where it is going to be the same.
Yeah.
What, the map?
Yeah.
The map.
I think they're called stages instead of levels or.
Stages, maps.
Yeah.
They're just.
Yeah.
I mean, map is a loose term as well because it's just copy paste.
Yeah. The environments aren't very. They're not fun to explore. You're not like, a new biome in this.
Yeah.
Like it's all the same.
Yeah, the levels themselves are just kind of repeated, and sometimes you'll have like a few different elements. Like you'll have like a couple pickups or something in the corner of the map, or you have characters that you can unlock by doing various things or going to certain areas.
There's like coffins out.
You find a coffin, something flies out, and you're like, oh, is it finally a vampire? And like, no, it's just
never
another character.
Dracula's in another castle.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
So like the running joke is there's no vampires in Vampire Survivors.
Ha.
Yeah.
Good one.
Who'd have guessed? But I think one of the main reasons I wanted to talk about this game was just because the kind of the simplicity of the game. Like there's a lot going on, like visually and whatever, but in terms of the actual game, you're walking around, you're automatically attacking stuff, and you're picking up currency and levels to sort of do things. And I think, I don't know, I feel like it's a good game for people that are starting out with game design or whatever to kind of look at, and like you could probably recreate something quite similar fairly easily, and it's the fact that it's vastly expandable.
Yeah.
Like you only have I think, what is it? You have like a few different stats. So what is it?
I think it's speed, health, damage.
I think that's something I think Vampire Survivors does really well, is that it really takes advantage of its systems and variables. So it literally makes everything kind of adaptable in game. So the speed of your character, the amount of damage your weapon does, the size of the screen that the weapon
it's all a variable that you can see.
Yeah, and all these different items impact it all, which helps it make it feel different each time you play it almost, because you're like, well, obviously there's the different weapon types, but you can have, on this run my character runs really fast, or on this run the kind of reload speed for my weapons is a lot smaller. Or I'm dropping more XP, so I'm leveling up quicker because of all these kind of these variables that you can kind of tweak. So I think it is good for kind of that type of thing where it's very kind of feels quite systems heavy, but because of that and making all these systems transparent makes it feel fresh when you
and I think because you have like all these stats are just visible variables and everything, and it makes the game quite expandable, which you like. If I don't know when you started it, when you guys started playing originally.
When did when it came to Game Pass on Xbox, and I think that's when I I started playing it. So that would have been middle of last year, I think.
Yeah, I think that was last year. I only played it on
Middle of this
mobile.
year.
Yeah, because when you start out, you have like very few characters, and then you slowly unlock them.
Yeah.
And then they come out with more DLCs and stuff like that, and it's very easy just to kind of add new weapons, adding multiple characters as well. Like I think each like weapon has its own character pretty much.
Yeah.
Where you start with that weapon, they have slightly different stats, and it gives you like a slight twist on how the gameplay works, because you have, I don't know, different challenges with how you start off or whatever, based on the stats. But it means that it's vastly expandable, and you can kind of go in whatever direction you want with it, and I think that's a strength.
Yeah, it's got a very good base system that you can just kind of slot additional things into, and it all kind of works quite well.
Yeah.
But beyond that sort of thing, once you get the main things open, your runs tend to follow a certain. Find a certain.
I want garlic. I want the Bibles. I want the knife that shoots out. I want the specific.
And then you get the bracer to make them constantly fire. Because that's the other thing as well, is that obviously you've got your passive objects and your offensive objects. A lot of the offensive, I'll go into a bit more detail in a moment, but sort of thing. But pairs of objects. So
synergies.
If you get the right passive and the right aggressive weapon, then you can get a bonus level beyond. I think they go up something like level 7. Some of them go higher than that. But you can get a bonus level where it becomes like an ultimate weapon version of it.
Evolved version.
And it becomes a lot more powerful, but depending on whether you've got. But again, that there's a random chance of that actually the evolved version appearing. They usually will, because as you start to get towards later, you start to power up quite quickly. And so that's quite interesting as well. And again, it can. You find the grimoire. I think you find the grimoire in the second level. So the grimoire then exposes everything. It just exposes all the combat. It shows you
all the
combat.
combinations.
So you can go and find them. And that's one of the things I do like about this. It's like. It's a game that's very upfront with like, here's all the things you can do. Loads and loads of games sort of thing, hide stuff, and we're being open. We want to be really opaque. And the Vampire Survivor's like, here you go.
I mean,
here's a list of achievements, which is 200 long.
Yeah.
Knock yourself out.
And it has a tab which literally says secrets.
Yeah.
And it will say like it'll give you kind of cryptic clues or whatever, but it kind of gives you something to aim for. And I think one of the good things it does is with kind of, you were saying about like you fall into the same pattern of I'm going to use these particular weapons or whatever. It does kind of try to do something with that, in the sense of you have achievements and unlocks, and it'll say like level this weapon up to level whatever, use this character, get past
the 15-minute mark.
And I'll do it once and never go back again.
Well, but it does get you to like,
it does,
try different stuff.
Like I'll never start with the guy with the bones.
Rubbish.
Or the one with the cat.
What's the cats about? They just run around randomly.
And they damage you as well.
What's that about? I don't want to be this character. But just back to the synergies. Part of me is like, are they, the way it's designed, good necessarily? Because I'll find myself, I've got specific weapons. So I like garlic. And so I'm like, well, I'm gonna get the whatever it's called, the thing that gives you regenerative health. Because that will mean that I get the dark garlic or soul eater, whatever it's called. And so I'm kind of almost, with the synergies, it's restricting what I would probably actually choose as my passive abilities, because I'd probably go for the orb, which sucks more things towards me.
But I think having 6 of them, I think, is a good number, because I usually sort of get about 3 upgrades. And 3.
Yeah, but I'm greedy. I want
every single
weapon to be the ultimate version of it.
Whereas I'm not fussed about that, because I think you can get like three weapons, which, like you said, the Bibles, the garlic, the knives. And then you can then level the rest up to 7, and you're fine. And the other 3 you can have. The one that sucks in the orbs, the one that does this, the one that does that, and you don't really need to. And I think if it was 3 weapons, you'd be in a bit more thing. But I think 6, and being able to get the bonus one, I think that's enough there for allow you to mix and match at the levels you want to take them. Because it's not like at level 7 they're like puny. Level 7 Bibles will still do plenty of damage.
I'm just greedy, obviously. I would find myself like skipping over passive abilities that I probably would have wanted in favour of waiting for the ones that would synergize with the weapons. That
I mean, like you were saying before, though, you can get items in the level. So if you're clever about it, you can get the stuff that you actually want.
Yeah.
And then it depends on the stage, obviously, but like some stages will have Pomerola, and you can get that.
And the other thing I would say about that is that if we're taking something that comes down to a good design decision, is that that's your choice.
Yeah.
The game's not forcing you down a certain way. The game is just going, right, here you go. The thing that it limits you with is what it presents you with each level up. But again, you get, like I said, as you get further on, you can ameliorate that with different, get rid of stuff or respin it, things like that. But it's never telling you you've got to take this.
Yeah.
No.
It gives you like just enough restriction that you don't actually feel restricted as such, but you have to think about
and not
your
too much
decisions.
if you feel overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because at the beginning as well,
Bioshock.
yeah. Well, we'll come to the systems and stuff. The systems all work pretty well because the systems work irrespective of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing you do in this game, and I think that maybe we move on to this is the point of this game, is you walk.
Yeah.
It's a walking
simulator.
It's a walking simulator. It's called an ass game. I don't know if you've seen that. It's also auto shooting scroller.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Don't search Steam for ass games. Or you'll get something
No,
completely-
but that's what it is, sort of thing. So it is that. So essentially, the controls are up, down, left, right.
Yeah.
Because it's 2D, top down, or sort of side on.
Yeah.
It's on the top, sort of Zelda style or don't starve, things like that. And you just walk around. All your weapons fire off automatically.
Some of them are based on the direction you're facing, but that's about the only.
Yeah, for the
or movement
dagger.
speed. There was one guy it's basically like the whip, but it only in the direction you're facing. That blue whip, which I hated, by the way.
Yeah. So there are certain things you can do, but but you can't control when they fire. They fire off. They're on cooldowns. You can't. That's the one thing you can't see the cooldowns. But I think that'd just be too busy. They just fire. Yeah. Everything just fires.
Yeah.
And so by the end of it, you've got 6 weapons all firing off, especially when the Bibles flying everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things about this game that you either will get on with or you won't. Is you just walk around.
Yeah.
It's interesting though, because like when I'm thinking back to those weapons, like the ones that require you to move to get the more powered up form of it or whatever, or to increase its damage, they're the ones I dislike the most.
Yeah.
Because like the fact that I had to be actively moving, like with Vampire Survivors, I think when I first started out, it was the same thing as like garlic, Holy Bible. You get a shield around you, and if you kind of build up your character correctly, you can just stand there and do nothing.
The game's almost at its funnest when you can just stand there and do nothing. Exactly. At which point it doesn't become a walking simulator; it becomes an idle game. It's an idle clicking game.
You're not even flicking.
You don't even have to, it's an idle game.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of its greatest strengths is that simplicity, and it's accessibility to everyone. You're just moving around. If it's with WASD, if it's your cursor keys, if it's a joystick, whatever, a control stick. There's nothing to it.
Yeah.
There's literally nothing to it. You just walk around and just you kill some. Like at the very beginning, and this is the thing with this game. At the very beginning, it's quite dull. The opening minute, you just especially with the first guy, and you've got that whip, and it's like, dun, 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 dun,
and you get like 1 or 2 enemies, just like,
and they don't even all drop gems.
But you only need 5 to level up.
Yeah.
And I think that's just the right number for you just to get the first level up, and you get something else.
Yeah.
Whether it's a flame or you don't get garlic for a little while. You have to do something to get garlic open.
You have to pick up so many floor chickens.
Yeah, the floor chickens. Yeah, the floor chicken, which must be a Bioshock reference. But so you get those things. So like you said, you look in the unlocks, you do those things, you unlock more weapons, more choices appear, your runs become longer, and that's the other thing about this game is that it's only 30 minutes long.
Yeah.
At max. Although there is an achievement which I've never got. I'm sure I could look into how to do it. I've never got the get to 31 minutes.
Yeah, I can maybe get. I got to like 4 seconds past 30.
Yeah,
I got 30.
That thing just appears and just destroys you. The Reaper.
Yeah, usually the game loop is you get to 30 minutes and a Red Reaper appears, which will. I don't think it insta kills you, but it does a lot of damage very quickly.
Yeah.
And the way. The game kind of funnels you into a specific direction if you want to beat that, and the gun Lancet, the one that can freeze enemies, like if it pauses them for a second, you can use that by itself, to get to 31 minutes if you're aiming it properly, or like you were saying with the what's it called, the thingy corridor,
Infinite
corridor. One of the gun lancet upgrades, like it fires in pretty much every direction. But the fully upgraded one does half of the enemy's health every time it hits them. So like its total health, or yeah, whatever health it's at, it will do half of that to the enemy. So you basically can just kill them really
But it would never
easily.
kill him.
Well, no, but you have
you have other
weapons.
stuff attacking them. Yeah,
He's always going down by half. It would never die. It would get down to an infinitesimally small number, but still not be dead.
Yeah. So there are ways. Yeah, and then there's more kind of secrets and unlocks and stuff that you.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what I mean. I'm sure
Yeah.
there are. I've just never really gone that deep. I was like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I mean, I got each time obviously I've restarted it 3 times, but each time I get to a point where I'm just like, I can't be bothered. I know that I need to do X, Y, Z. I just can't be bothered.
Just to sort of speak on that and what I think one of the things I think this game does really well is that so games generally have an arc, don't you? You usually have an arc or it's a level, and so a lot of games they start off with you quite weak. As you progress, you get power ups and more things and stuff like that, and so by the end of it, a lot of games are power fantasies. As you become towards the end, you get more weapons, and first person shooters, you pick rocket launchers and things like that. Yeah. And that usually takes several hours.
Yeah.
Several hours of play is 10 hours, 15 hours, and people always moan going, oh, it's not long enough to do this. But by the end of it, you're in that huge dead powerful Half-Life 2, which makes them you get but they get the big gravity gun at the end and stuff, and you're flinging people around and all things like that. This does the arc in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
It does the power fantasy it's like essentially it boils video games into 30 minutes. It's like you walk around, you just get more and more powerful. By the end of it, you can just you just stand there and let the fireworks happen. And I think that's what this game is quite interesting for. The fact that it does, by the end of this, if you want a quick power fantasy game, this is it.
Yeah.
Because within 20 minutes, there's so much stuff going on screen. There's so much damage. There's so many numbers flying around.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about what they do in a moment, sort of thing. But that's what this game does. It synthesizes 20, 30 hours worth of Final Fantasy, into 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Whilst having zero story in it.
While having zero story, and still a better story than most Final Fantasy games. But sorry, I've just lost I'm not a big Final Fantasy fan, but anyway, because I think
it's nonsense.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, absolutely. It peaked with 7, but then it peaked with 6. It's just so it just does it. It drags it all together and it's like, here you go. This is what's great about video games. It's like this thing that you just you don't get this kind of visceral thrill or excitement from anything else. Not really. And that's what's great about it. And it's like, it does it with an asset pack that the guy bought.
Yeah.
And some, music what's the music sound like?
Well, do you know how the song goes? The song in Vampire Survivors.
Yeah.
Like, if you listen to this and you play the game, you'll know the song.
Yeah.
Right? It's I Was Made for Loving You by Kiss. I was made for loving you, baby. You
never
were
realised
made
that.
for loving me.
Oh my god.
It's very similar.
Yeah.
It's the same song.
Yeah.
That, and I think, but also as well, you might, Kiss are one of those sort of bands where they kind of synthesize rock into a sort of, here you go, this is just a 4-minute rock song. And Kiss do that. That's what this game is. It pulls all these elements together. None of them are particularly original. You don't do anything apart from walk around. The graphics are, people, the graphics are rubbish, and it's a map. It's a map the size of huge maps.
Yeah.
Which one of the achievements is get to the edge of a map in it, which I've never found. I can't.
I thought they were infinite.
No,
essentially.
there is an achievement.
Element to it,
There's an achievement saying get to the edge of a map.
What?
Yeah, which I've never done. And I've walked. As soon as it started, I walked in one direction.
Yeah.
And I still didn't get there.
You have to have your speed
high
maximum,
speed,
probably.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. But so it does all these things, but it's replayable to a point of and so I had to stop playing it, physically stop myself after a while. The first time I went through this, because I was like, I'll just do another 30.
Yeah.
I'll just do a quick run. And I was like, I actually go to work. I need to stop playing this game. And it's very addictive.
And that's the big thing. It's addictive.
It is addictive.
Massively addictive.
Yeah.
But I think that it's what you're describing there is a real testament to how it's done. The game loops is just done very well. So you've got your core loop. Your second by second thing is you're walking around, avoid enemies, pick up gems, and upgrade. That's the kind of core loop. You've got your kind of secondary loop, which is survive the stage. And then and upgrade your weapons to more evolved versions. And then there's the kind of more tertiary one, which is complete all the achievements. And those, they fit in within each other so well. In this game. But can I provide a counterpoint to you? So like to obviously, yes, it's addictive, but does addictive mean it's good necessarily? So the thing with me with Vampire Survivors, and I wanted to play it, and I felt like I was enjoying it, but just something was rubbing me up the wrong way about Vampire Survivors. And the thing I think is why is because playing Vampire Survivors reminds me of social media. All right, hear me out. Okay.
Okay.
So social media requires minimal input. You've got to scroll through.
Right.
Yes. Vampire Survivors, minimal input. All you're doing is walking around. It provides regular, minute dopamine hits. Social media through, the odd cat video. That's nice. Oh, someone's liked my post here. That's a nice little dopamine hit. Versus, I've got this upgrade, or I've leveled this up to, and it seemingly kind of never ends. Also, you kind of it felt. Like playing Vampire Survivors to me felt like I was on.
See, I don't agree with that, because I think that the thing with Vampire Survivors within that 30-minute arc is there is an arc. There's no arc to scrolling through social media. It's a flat line of boredom. But with every now and again, like you said, it's like cats. Things like that, and that's fine.
Yes, I agree that there's an arc, but the when you're in it, the experience itself felt to me like it's almost like doom scrolling social media.
See, I don't see that. I can't.
Like I'm at this point, I'm just sat not doing anything. Yeah, there's loads of stuff going on screen, but I don't know. I was like, it felt like I could just be scrolling through, like watching stuff on social media and having that kind of same dopamine hit.
I don't know. There's no point of meandering through social media where I felt that what I felt playing Vampire Survivors, which is like, this is incredibly like, my God, it's the closest I would say, and this comes from when you did was previously, is gambling.
Yes.
Gambling is the bigger, and obviously he worked in slot machines and stuff like that, and that's what this is.
Can I just add a caveat to my point of view on Vampire Survivors? I'm aware that I'm probably wrong on this, because it's obviously a very successful game, but I think it just comes down to different players wanting different things, different experiences. And for me, although I did get some enjoyment out of Vampire Survivors, I always get to the point where I'm just like, I just don't want to do it anymore. I just like same with social media. I get to points where I need to just uninstall Twitter, because I just don't want to do it anymore.
And then you play another game.
And then I'll install Blue Sky.
But then you'll play another round of Vampire Survivors, going, actually, it's really good. I just want to hear But yes, I get what you're saying, and you're not wrong. I don't think you're wrong. There's no right or wrong in a subjective opinion of a video game. It is what it is. But I just think that the way that this game structures itself, and I think we talked about the roguelike elements, the notion of this, everything's planned, allows you to plan. Like, you need a certain thing when those skeletons appear at 11 minutes, because you've got to get out. Or you need a certain thing when the ring of plants.
Structure.
So the ring of plants is coming, and at that point you also get the green hands up zombies. No, it's the hands up zombies. The green hands.
Those things.
Or monks, whatever. They're hard to kill. They all come at one point.
Yes.
And it's quite early on. It's about 7 minutes in, 6-7 minutes in. So you know that you're going to get ringed in by these plants that take far too much to kill. You're going to have a big mantis thing.
Yeah.
And you're going to have those things. So you need to plan, right, how am I going to get out of this? and carry on the game.
Yeah.
And so I think the structure is like anything else, like most games, this is a designed game, and I think that roguelikes suffer. That's why I suffer from roguelikes. We talk about Inscription, where the design is not within the planning of the levels or the planning of the structure of it, but in the different things that can happen.
Yeah.
And I
kind
think
of randomness.
Yeah. Here, the elements that you choose are the randomness. So the weapons you pick up.
Yeah. And I suppose even if you at that point with the ring of flowers and the green monks or whatever, if you haven't got what you need through the randomized choice selections when you level up, then it's like, okay, do I like navigate, like squeak between all these different enemies until they disappear, or do I just risk it and just walk through the enemy like the plants just to get out of this situation? So yes, it creates those kinds of gameplay moments where you as a player have got to make this choice.
You have choices. You
have choices.
I
think maybe I just make bad choices.
Maybe
I'm greedy. What we've established is I'm not clever about my runs. I'm too greedy and I make bad choices, and that's why I don't get on.
quite possibly. But yeah, so there are those elements. Like I said, there are. It's like there's like the honey traps as well. The in that first level, you've got those little walled gardens.
Yeah.
Well, there's only one way out. Don't go in them. Never go in them. And I remember the first time I played it, I went in them, and then my way out was just blocked by enemies coming in. I'm like, I've got no way out. Because the other thing is as well, the enemies, they can walk across the blockages. They don't pay any attention to physics or anything else. That's the other thing this game is like, they'll just walk through stuff. You get bound in. And so you make those bad choices and you learn from them. Like any game.
Unlike I don't.
You clearly know. Yeah. And so you get, but then the first time you get to like 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and you've got everything starting to show up at that point, and you've still got 10 minutes left. It just keeps piling stuff in and on. And I think that's where this game's real strength is. And when you get to that, like I said, the last 5 minutes where you get those highlighted bats. I'm just talking about the first level.
No, I know what you mean.
You get the highlight bats, and whereas at the beginning it's like, they give me a chest, I've got to keep hitting it. They've got loads of health. Now you're just killing loads of them in each successive attack.
Well, again. I found them like, because you would get to a point where you're like, I don't have to move. I can just stand here. I'm invincible. All the enemies are dying around me, and then all of a sudden a highlighted bat gets through because it's got more HP, and then it kills me. I wasn't paying enough attention, and I got get killed. I'm like, oh come on, I'm 25 minutes into that run. I was trying to get the achievement to get this character to 30 minutes, and I died at 25 minutes because I wasn't paying enough attention. Because I got to the point where I didn't feel like I needed to.
That's on you.
That's another thing to add to the list then, impatience.
I'm impatient, I make bad choices, I'm not clever, and I'm greedy.
You'll go a long way.
Yes.
Not into Vampire Survivors. But I think all those elements are what pull this game together. And then on top of all that, like you said, with the transparency, is like we talk about that gambling background, and if you talk about the way the chests appear, because I remember the first time I got a chest, there's moments in this, so certain bosses or certain major enemies, when you kill them, they'll drop a chest. And the great thing about it is you point a big arrow to it. Arrow appears, chest, and you're like, this? So you go and get it, and then you get dun 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 dun. You get that bit of music come on, and dun dun dun, and you're like, oh, that's cool. And then you get the 3-1. With 3 options, because you think, because 3 bands appear and all the screens turn yellow, you're like dun, dun, and it goes on dun, 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 and dun, 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 and then you get the 5. That first time the 5 chest appeared, I was almost jumped up out my seat. I was like, oh, it's amazing, it's incredible, what's going on?
All the fireworks, the streams, it like flies through the air, you've got like coins falling down.
Oh my lord.
And it's exactly like a slot machine.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you've won 100 quid in the pub. For answering some questions right. But it's like, no, I've never known a game. I've ever known a game. Maybe Halo, when Halo's firing all cylinders and things kicking off everywhere. But this is something you could knock up in a few days.
A student could make this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Quite easily.
It's just that sound effect, that music, that thing, those numbers popping up everywhere.
All the different variables. It would be a good game to make in order to kind of learn how to make games. Because you've got all this.
That's kind of why I wanted to do this one, because at first I thought maybe it's a little bit too not enough to talk about because it's simple mechanics, but there is a lot to.
Yeah.
And the chests are great, but they take too long to open.
I mean, you can
No,
skip
they
it.
don't.
Yeah, I know. And believe me, I will be hammering that skip button as soon as I pick up a chest. I don't want to watch
The only
50-minute long animation. It's
No, I
felt longer than a Metal Gear Solid cutscene.
the animation's
chest
great.
to open.
The only bit that's too long is when it reveals what it's done at the end.
And then you've got to wait for it to come up at the bottom,
Yeah.
telling you what it actually is.
Yeah, but then I think that's done on purpose because it's like, whew, brilliant. And you have a moment of
Breathe it.
reflection. Yeah, it's like, all right, then back into it. Dun, I was
skip it
made
all.
for loving. And off you go. And then let's not forget as well. We say it's not graphically. The sprites are a sprite pack sort of thing.
Yeah.
But when everything's kicking off towards the end,
Yeah.
you get the birds flying around and the knives and the flames.
Yeah,
and,
the like meteorites just coming out
Yeah,
of you
the
and the
yeah.
sides.
or the lightning.
The actual VFX that they've got, like the sprite VFX, is really good.
Yeah.
And I think when you tell people, when people were telling me about Vampire Survivors, and I would Google it and look at it, I'd be like, what is this tripe? It looks horrific. But then you play it and it's like, it's actually great.
Yes.
I think I was the exact same because I remember seeing a screenshot of just like a little character with a load of stuff walking towards them. I was like, this looks dull.
Yeah.
Dull as anything.
Yeah. It's literally Vector 2 move towards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the enemies.
Yeah.
That's it. Vector.
Yeah. Occasionally they'll have like a wave pattern. Very, very occasionally, some of the enemies in some of the later stages, you get the dragon that
they'll
kind
go
of
from
snake.
left to right
yeah.
on the screen.
Yeah. Or there's that one stage where they're not moving towards you. It's like it's like a Suzy type thing where they're just kind of floating around initially.
Yeah.
I think so.
It's the one level where it starts off and all of the passive abilities are around you available to pick up.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Yeah. No.
And when you get to the 15-minute mark, it just suddenly snaps to this weird corridor, and you've lost all your power-ups and what is going on. Which is another thing with this game. Yeah, the secrets in it are quite. It has that sense of mystery in it.
Yeah.
To keep you interested and intrigued about what's going on. Like what's going on.
There's always something to hunt for, or like to level up or achieve.
Or you come across a giant ball of bones moving through a level, and you're like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like, what have I come across?
Or because the map is not open from the beginning either, is it?
What do you mean? Like
being able to see the map.
No, yes, yeah, you can't. Yeah, there's like there's two maps. You get the first one which shows you where some of the objects are, but then there's like the secrets map.
But even that at the moment, I don't think I've not got it open. It's starting again on the Switch.
Yeah.
It's not that you press pause.
Yeah.
And there's no option to see a map.
I think it's an item that you pick.
Yeah, you have to. The Milky Way map. You have to get that to see the map first.
Yeah.
And then later on, you get the yellow sign. I think it's called at the end. That shows you secret the two rings
and that's what I mean by like how you think, because at first I was just walking around. You think it's like you said, I just thought it was just endless
procedurally generated
whatever sort of thing. It was just these few squares of tiles that were just looping around sort of thing. But then when I found, I don't know how, obviously I found the object and it said there's a map. I went into the pause screen and there's an option for a map and I was like, hey. Map, what's that? And I looked and there's something off in the corner, the coffin and stuff, and you suddenly realise there's actually stuff on these levels, and you're like, oh, okay. So this drip feed of stuff that this game does is actually really well done.
Yeah.
And that you constantly, I think I put 45, 50 hours in on the Xbox.
Wow. I don't know how many.
And now I've been playing on the Switch as well, but. And so just opening up stuff just constantly. It's just a drip feed of achievement.
And it kind of because on the front menu there's the unlocks menu which shows you the unlocks one where it shows you all the different kind of achievements you've got to work towards. So you've always got a goal in mind. And then again, it's down to choice. You can choose whether you want to try and reach minute 30 with this character or whether you want to try and find this object.
And one of the things that I think, we talk about designers and obviously, our students listen to this and things like that. And one of the things to take away from this is I find this sort of quest for like, it needs to look photoreal. It needs to look brilliant. Visual stability, visual fidelity. Oh, it's got to be incredible. It needs to run at these million frames per second. And it's like, as long as it's steady.
It needs to be fun.
It just needs to be fun. and you can do it with just moving a stick,
Yeah.
and it's fun because of all the things that the game is doing. And I think that's one of the things that to take away from this. It's an asset pack.
Yeah.
For God's sake.
Yeah.
It does my head in sort of thing, because it's like it's just an asset pack that he bought.
Yeah.
And made a really, really interesting game around.
I think he even got the original artist from the asset pack to contribute additional sprites and stuff to the game when it started.
Yeah, an interview I read with him, he was saying that at some point they were going to go and redo it and sort of make it look nicer, but they just didn't know whether we're like, no, that's just going to take this. We can't now because this is Vampire.
Yeah, take the charm away from it almost.
Yeah, it would. But it's not even, these graphics are not even designed for this game.
No,
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the later ones, obviously, they got it for it, but it's not. It's just like I said, a Castlevania style pack, and that's one of the things to take from, if you as a designer, to take from this. It's like, it's not about visual fidelity. It's about being able to read the screen.
Yeah.
But it doesn't. It can just be 2-frame sprite animation.
Yeah.
Just get the game loop right.
Yeah.
And fun.
Yeah.
And it goes a long way.
Yeah.
But on finding things, like unlocking the achievements or whatever, I got to a point. This is not. I guess. This is my inscription level.
What other adjective are we going to apply to you?
Yeah. What have we got so far? Greedy,
impatient, make bad choices.
Yeah. Anyway, with this one, it was like, one of my, it's like an unlock where you've got to find a specific thing. I was like, right, okay. And I looked up the wiki, right, how do I find this thing? It's on this stage. I'm like, I don't have that stage. I haven't unlocked that stage. So I'm like, okay, I'll Google this stage. Okay, you unlock this stage by finding this item on this stage. And I'm like, well, I haven't unlocked that stage. And then so it's like, I need to go. It's like this. I got annoyed because I was like, oh, I've got to. I didn't feel like
I've got to play the game.
This thing. Unlock this thing should have been maybe hidden until I was able to. I was at a point where I could do it,
Okay.
Or maybe it was just foreshadowing something that I could do in the future. But I felt like it was quite high up on my list of, because I usually would go for the ones nearer the top because they're usually the ones that you're able to do early on, where you currently are. But yeah,
I feel that's being impatient again. I don't know.
I think that
because it's like. It's like if I saw that, I would look at it and be like, oh, that's interesting. I'm gonna figure that out, and then I'd keep doing stuff until I find.
I just wanted to unlock it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You want that instant. Yeah. You don't want a drip feed. You just want it all at once. Overdose.
Yeah, and I think if you did that, a lot of this game would lose its appeal. You need that. Like you said, you need those tertiary goals.
Yeah.
The tertiary goals are important to this game because I think the primary and secondary, whilst fun, wouldn't be quite the draw if that list of achievements weren't there. And that challenge of going and doing other things off in the right. No, actually, this run I'm aiming for this.
Yes. Well, I think for me as well, I was like, I didn't feel like when I was playing it, I didn't. Yes, you've got the objectives, the unlocks, but I never once felt like I knew what the end goal was. Just tick all those boxes, check them off the list. Like what? There's no. I thought, is it leading up to defeating Dracula at the end? There's no kind of hint at that. Although they say, oh yeah, the vampire's in another coffin. I'm like, well, it never felt clear the goal from start of the game through to finish. It was just, here's a list of loads of things that you need to achieve. But at the end of it, then what? It's never kind of present, I don't think, initially in the game.
I think it's just different type of players.
Yeah,
I guess.
It's just I think that's what it comes down to. I know, like, obviously it's a very successful game. It's done very well.
Yeah.
I just think, and I'm not saying I didn't enjoy it. It was bad. I did enjoy kind of the early game and doing these things and unlocking these bits and pieces. But I think I get to a point where I bounce off it.
You wanted a kind of narrative point.
Yeah, almost like if there could have just been something or that kind of that flowed through the whole game. And I think that's there. There's obviously hints of stuff like that in the names of characters and the names of items that you find in all the descriptions that I didn't read. It's probably all there. I'm like, what's this? A paragraph? I'm too impatient to read that.
I want it now. I want that knowledge now.
Yeah.
I think that reminds me of when Minecraft came out.
Yes.
Because I looked at Minecraft when it first came out. I remember seeing it and having to play around with it, and I was like, what's the point?
Yeah.
I don't get it.
Yeah.
What am I doing? Because remember, this was about 2010, 2011, whenever that was, 12, whatever. And I was like, I don't get this. I just don't understand it. And that was, for a lot of people, that was a problem. So they introduced like the Ender Dragon.
Yeah.
And
You have to watch YouTubers playing it at the early game in Minecraft to even understand how to survive the first night.
Yeah, and there was very little point to it. It was like,
because I remember playing it in beta, and it was kind of like, I was like, I can run it. I'll get immediately killed during the first night because I hadn't constructed a base for myself to protect myself, or weapons to protect you from skeletons and zombies and creepers or whatever.
I mean, it was just a big sandbox, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
It was do with it what you want.
Yeah,
basically.
Yeah. I guess that's kind of Vampire Survivors. You can play this how you want, but I'm like, I want some more direction on how you're supposed to do this, please.
But I think it just draws on his experience of, like, because he just wanted something quick to make, didn't he? In lockdown, so it was a lockdown game.
Yeah.
So he was making that just something for him to play at the weekends and stuff. He was, what I read, and then obviously drawing on his experience in gambling, making slot machine stuff and pinging those that numbers and everything flying off and making you feel good. That's the point of this game. It's not it's not BioShock's narrative, because the thing with BioShock is that most of the systems were annoying. And that's the thing. The thing you take from BioShock is you tell the story and you can tell it in interesting ways. And this is the complete. It's almost we've had 2 games now since BioShock which are very opposite. In thank goodness here and Vampire Survivors. And it's not about story at all. Although people have tried to apply lore to it.
Yes.
You can read around.
We'll always do that.
And it's like, oh, for God's sake! It's
if you read this item description, you'll actually see that Dracula is what.
It's just about running around and trying to survive for 30 minutes, and that's great,
and that's fine.
Yeah, that's all you need. And it's to me, it's just it's like old arcade video games, which I obviously used to play. But it's a distillation of longer games into 30 minutes.
Yeah, it's just you're playing this game to have fun.
Yeah,
just to do something.
And by the end, after the 20-minute mark, you are so damn powerful. It's just ridiculous. I don't know a game that does it more.
That 29th minute is always bonkers.
All the enemies are vibrating off each other, and the screen is full. And I remember there's a couple things with the game that I don't like, which is at a certain point you get a massive amount of visual clutter with the numbers, and when you're hitting enemies, you see the damage that you're doing to them. Eventually, I turned that off because
oh god, no!
I couldn't see what was going on.
I want more on the screen. I want more. I basically want the screen to be just animated, like screensaver nightmarish. That's what I love about it.
I want it to look like one of those magic image things.
Yeah, absolutely.
CGI pictures.
That's where because at the end sort of thing. That's what I mean. That's where the vampire is.
Yeah.
If you just cross your eyes,
look hard enough at minute 29, you'll see the
Dracula.
And then the arrows as well. Like you were saying about how you get an arrow over the chest. But past a certain point, if you're you're running around, you got all this
don't notice it,
and then you open your map and you're like, oh, 500 meters that way, I've dropped a chest and I need to go back for it or whatever.
Yeah, should have picked it up. Should have gone got it. But that's amazing. But also it's things like the one of the best pickups. Because obviously, don't forget as well. I think one of the things we haven't mentioned. We've mentioned the pickups you can get, which give you an extra power on thingy. But there's also the drops. There's the floor chickens.
The
floor chickens. The cross, which kills everything.
Yeah.
But the best one is the Hoover up orb.
Yes, I love that.
Suck every orb that you've missed. Because by the time you get to a certain point, you'll have been legging it, and you've been leaving a trail of orbs behind you that you can't get to. And then you get the orb, and it's just for about 30 seconds, you'll just be orbs.
Again, ring up orbs.
It's that dopamine again, because then you just get rapid levels.
Yeah.
And you'll get 6-7 upgrades in a row where you're just
or you get the super red gem.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which.
Because you level up 6 times in a row. Yeah. What happens is the screen can only hold so many gems. So when it gets to that point, it just starts putting all the experience into one red gem in the corner of the screen. And if you pick that up, you level up 10 times.
Basically, to avoid horrible lag, he's like, right, we need to put it into this one gem. And get all of that.
And that's the other thing about this. Although it may look simple, the volume of stuff and effects going on the screen is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I did notice I mean, I don't want to talk about frame rates and things like that, but I think the Switch struggled a little bit towards the end.
Yeah.
I was playing it on Switch. On the Xbox, I never noticed anything, but it's quite incredible the volume of effects and things going on. You know, and it never really misses a beat.
Yeah, I've seen people playing it where they're trying to farm gold or whatever, and even with like all the VFX on the screen, and like you get to the point where your stats are so high that the sprites are like stupid large, taking up half the screen, it still runs like pretty well. There's that other pickup, Gold Fever, as well, which is just like a slot machine or gambling or whatever, because it's like Gold Fever and coins are.
It's like what, dude? What's it like?
Gold Fever.
Went all Prospector Pete on that.
I had to. And you've got like gold raining down, and you've got this big number at the bottom that shows how much money you earn. I'm not allowed to do voices.
I just really enjoyed it.
I think we need to make Prospector Pete come back every week.
I like this character.
I've got to say.
Sorry. Yeah, no, the gold is raining.
It's
Gold Fever. Gold Fever.
Gold Fever. Yeah.
But yeah, that's all of these things. Just like freezing time and being able just to kill stuff and make changes.
It's like I don't know, some sort of meatloaf looking thing of this fire. You breathe fire.
Isn't it like a curry or something?
I don't know what it is.
No.
It's a kebab or something.
Probably something like that.
Yeah,
kebab would make sense.
It looks like a sponge.
Yeah,
it looks like an orange sponge.
Yeah, you pick it up and then you breathe breathe fire, and that's just great.
Massive damage.
It's not like a Super Smash Bros.
It could be. It could be anything with this game. Who knows?
Probably.
Who knows?
It might be. Yeah, but it's.
Thing is though, in amongst it all, they're instantly recognisable. There's a little glow on them. You can see them, and also when you look at the map, when you get the map open, it highlights where they are on there as well.
Drops.
So you can go find your floor chickens and things like that.
You can.
Clovers
and because they all come out of things you destroy. There are some destructible elements like little candles and stuff, aren't there, and what have you, that you sort of have to hit and destroy, and they drop randomly.
They drop coins and health and all of that kind of stuff.
And because we mentioned this as well, because you get coins for every run, don't you? So it'll get you coins, and then you go back to the main menu, and then you can buy upgrades. And you stat upgrade yourself. So you can buy new characters, so you depend on what you want to spend it on. So your stats, you can get your weapons do more damage, you get more health, you respawn.
It's like permanent upgrades.
It's permanent upgrades as well.
That's one thing we didn't mention, is it? And then you can it's just the natural progression. You play more, you get more gold, you upgrade more things, more damage.
You can run for longer. You get to harder levels.
And then even you can increase how many enemies spawn and stuff like that, which naturally you're going to get more gems and money from. And just a very satisfying loop.
What a great game. What a great game. Wish I'd made it. Wish I'd made it 5 years ago.
Well, I was reading some of the just like on internet comments about the game, and I feel like from game developers, there's a certain kind of like animosity where they're like, well, you just got lucky. You just got lucky with this game, and it got picked up by YouTubers and just got lucky, and millions of downloads. Maybe.
Yeah. But, so what? But it wouldn't have done that. I mean, it's basically
it has to be a good.
It's another Flappy Bird.
Yeah.
Because although Flappy Bird is a simple thing, it's quite infuriating and addictive to play. So if a game's addictive, and you get YouTubers playing, it's like Goat Simulator and things like that. These games just come out of nowhere for some strange reason, and they're just people like them, but they're good games.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They've got to be good. They've got to be good games for people to run with.
Yeah, I don't begrudge any designer making a good game. I got to play it, so I just wish because it's simple and I can see all those elements. It's like to me, I think the thing what makes a designer, the thing to think about is somewhere here is that you probably had that thought of just walking around doing, but you thought you kind of get streamlined into games have to be really heavily mechanical. You have to have all these things in it. It's got to be this and that, and you can but actually strip some stuff back. Like Thank Goodness You're Here. And you can make a really interesting product that
it's like
do well.
Walking simulators. Let's just make a first-person shooter without any shooting in it. It's just a first-person game where you walk around. That's kind of spawned a whole genre of things.
Absolutely.
So things back.
But it will annoy people. Because there's a certain tendency to just think that games like Bioshock's a perfect example where everyone loaded Bioshock because you do so much, but it's like, but to what end?
Yeah, you can craft, but why?
That doesn't. Yeah, that
What
seems
does it
to be
add to it?
It seems to be a trend, doesn't it? Where people are like, oh, look at these amazing graphics. Look at how many things are in it.
Yeah,
Oh, and it's like,
yeah, it's Ubisoft.
yeah,
More things does not necessarily equal.
yeah.
No.
I think sometimes when you think of these different ideas, you might think like, oh, it's too simple. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't good enough to be a successful game or whatever.
And you're probably right. You are probably right.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the time it will be too simple. There's not enough there. You've not enough depth. But what Vampire Survivors does is it wraps it all. Its depth is not in the middle bit. Its depth is in that exterior stuff that goes on.
But simplicity is a good general rule for game design.
Yeah.
Bringing it back to Kiss, keep it simple, stupid, is what my producer used to say to me. Yeah, I was a game designer. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yeah.
Kiss. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was made for loving you, baby.
I was waiting for that.
Okay, we'll do some quick feedback. Well, first of all, we just want to celebrate. We went past 500 downloads, total downloads, which doesn't sound like a big number, but it's bigger than 100, which was the last time.
Absolutely.
It's bigger than 0.
It's bigger than 0.
We got a nice dopamine hit from seeing.
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
like numbers popped up and bing.
Yeah,
like that.
I was sending these two little notifications. Like, oh, we're at this many. We're at this many. Hey, we reached.
But then Stuart chose the wrong weapon and made a bad choice.
Yeah.
So we're down to 490 now. Somehow.
I got greedy and
erased their memories and they forgot everything.
But yeah, we've had a bit of feedback. I usually ask for feedback on the game we're discussing. So this one is from I'm No Superman on Blue Sky. Vampire Survivors power scaling is amazingly well placed. You go from panicking and running from every threat and trying to scrounge every XP gem you can, and eventually there's a moment of, wait, do I even need to move anymore? Yeah. And the translation between the two is just seamless. And yeah, I think that's a good point. Obviously, we've discussed that aspect of the game already, but not the actual transition between the two. You don't. Yeah. There's not a point where there's like it flips and suddenly you're overpowered. It's a really kind of seamless, general, gradual. Yeah. Okay, now I can handle myself in this scenario. So yeah, thanks. I'm No Superman. We had another comment from Brett Wardle, who's written into us before as a regular listener now. This was on LinkedIn. If any listeners are not familiar with Nicole Lazzaro's work in the 4 Keys to Fun, they should be. So he's essentially Nicole Lazzaro is this game designer, and she does these talks on the 4 Keys to Fun. I don't know if either of you have heard of this, but I hadn't before this comment. But I watched one of them, and essentially it boils down to the 4 keys being easy fun, hard fun, social fun, and the last one is serious fun. So like in the talk, she talks about how hard fun is essentially like the holy grail of game design. It's that feeling of personal triumph, overcoming challenges, and like games are fun because they have this kind of difficulty to them. So the example she gives is like, well, if a basketball hoop was like only a meter off the ground, you could just put the ball in the hoop. That's not fun. Yeah. The fun is in the challenge of trying to get the hoop, the basketball in the hoop up higher. And easy fun is more kind of curiosity driven, things that aren't challenging for a player to do, but are still fun. So like, and Brett talks about how this game is a mix of easy fun and hard fun. So there's hard elements where you're, again, kind of similar to what the previous comment said, you're trying to avoid things and you're finding it difficult, and then all of a sudden it's easy fun, and it's fun because of all these visual effects going on the screen, but it's not difficult. So he says Vampire Survivors is a near perfect mix of easy fun and hard fun. The transition between those two happens incredibly fast on each playthrough, but the game captures a fun sense of exploration and curiosity, easy fun, which quickly turns into strategy and a little luck, which is hard fun. The emotional state of fiero, which is when you're in the hard fun state and you're trying to overcome that challenge in the game. The emotional state of fiero you get when you barely squeak through a large batch of enemies or get the exact power up you were hoping for on a level up is such a great relief. There's beauty in the simplicity of this game's design. So again, coming back to it's simple, but that's not a
great
bad
comment.
Yeah, thank you. We had one from Threads. This is not about Vampire Survivors, but they said, just finished the Portal episode. Of course, I instantly want to suggest a million games, but for now, just one. Superliminal. Mind-blowing game, and it even has dev commentary. Have either of you played Superliminal?
I have not.
I haven't.
Haven't you?
I've heard of it.
I have. It's good. It is good. It is kind of mind-bending game.
Yeah.
It feels very Portal-esque. I felt playing it.
There was a few that came out around that sort of similar. Is Anti-Chamber one as well?
Yeah, Anti-Chamber I've played a bit of, but yeah, these kind of first-person puzzle games. Very.
Is that where you like move things and it changes?
Yeah,
size,
so,
based?
yeah, Superliminal's like about
Yeah,
perspective.
yeah.
So you can pick up an object in the distance and then move it closer to you, but it's tiny because you picked it up because it was far away. It's like that episode of Father Ted where it's like, this this cow is small, those cows are far away. And it made that into a game. It's very good. So maybe we'll talk about that at some point. And we had a comment on YouTube. Found you on Blue Sky. Thoroughly enjoyable listen. Looking forward to you having more mixed opinions on some of my other favourite games. So glad to have ticked that box for you with the episode that we've just done in Vampire Survivors.
It's good to have a bit of controversy now and then.
Mm-hmm. So the verdict then, is this a game every designer should play?
Yes.
Definitely.
Yes, I will say yes, despite obviously I did say I bounced off it, but I do think that gameplay loop, it's such a good example of getting that right.
And even just like for the price, the amount of time it takes to just play a little bit.
Oh god, yeah, value for money is off the charts of this thing.
Yeah.
And if you're new to games dev and you've never made a game before, make something like this just to try it out and learn how these systems work and interact with each other. So, I mean, there's like 100 Vampire Survivors likes now on Steam since the success of this. Yeah. You could easily kind of make one and try and do something different with it.
But you'll learn a lot just from trying to replicate it.
Yeah.
And figure out how it works.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That brings us to the end of this episode, which means it's time to announce the game we'll be talking about in the next episode.
What's it going to be? Have you given any hints?
So I'll give. So
it's from 2007.
Yeah, it's from 2007. Adrian was asking me, and I said I was between two. I can't remember what other hints I gave. I think one of them was like it's not as it's around the same time as Bioshock and Portal, and the other one was there was like a more recent one, but I think they're both genres we've not really covered yet.
Did you pick one in the end? Are you still deciding right now?
Yeah, I've got one. Yeah. Have you got any guesses?
Batman.
You think
Arkham Asylum.
What you think it's Batman? Why do you think it's that?
Because it's around that time. And it's not a genre we've covered, and we were talking about it. It's one we should do.
Have you got any guesses?
Or Oblivion.
I mean, again,
Oblivion.
I don't think it'd be Oblivion, but yeah, I mean, again.
Or Half-Life 2 is the other one.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it would be good to talk about Half-Life 2 with it being the 20th anniversary, wouldn't it?
It would, yes.
However, the game we'll be discussing on the next episode of Games Every Designer Should Play is Batman Arkham Asylum.
Yeah. Who'd have thought?
So, yeah, I think we haven't really covered proper third-person action adventure kind of game. It's got stealth elements in it.
I've never played it.
What, really?
I've never.
Have you not?
It. I think I probably own it.
Oh well,
everyone owns it.
Everyone must own it.
Comes pre-installed on this machines these days.
Also, it's based on an existing IP, which is not something we've done before.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be an interesting one to finally kind of take a look at. Plus, it's from nearly 2007, so it's kind of my trend of picking games from that particular time period continues.
Yeah.
2009, I think.
And it's a longer game.
I don't know actually how long
it's about 10 to 15, I think.
Similar to Bioshock, maybe.
For some reason, I thought it was a lot longer.
No. It depends. I think there's lots of secrets and stuff you can go find, but I think if you just mainline the story,
that's gonna be difficult.
Arkham City and Arkham Knight are probably big.
They're much bigger. Yeah. But it's a bit of a Metroidvania.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like a 3D Metroidvania. So as you get your power up, you get new gadgets, you can get to new areas and things like that.
Yeah, I'm sure I'll probably enjoy it.
Yeah, and I loved this game because I was a big fan of the animated series as a kid, and obviously it's Kevin Conroy who does the voice of Batman, and it's Mark Hamill doing the Joker. It's all the same voice actors. Nice. Paul Dini who wrote for the series, they got in to write the story for this, so it kind of felt like an extension of this kind of thing from my childhood. So,
and it's very, very burly.
Burly.
Yeah. It's an Unreal 3 game sort of thing where it's just there was a switch in Unreal 3 which was extra burl.
The burly setting.
See Gears of War, and every game made in Unreal 3, everything's just like, massive. I can't rotate my shoulders because if I was real
muscle.
Yeah, I think people have been messing with that slider in the gym when I've been going. The burly. The burl slider. The burl slider, yeah, got it turned up to max.
Sounds like a weird machine, that the burl slider. Is that a specific exercise at the gym?
It's a ride at Alton Towers, isn't it?
I thought it was the burl. I don't know. It sounds like some kind of Victorian torture.
The burl slider.
Was that another character? Is that the Prospector Pete's brother? The bell slider.
No, yes. Different era, different period.
Oh, right. It's an ancestor.
Yes.
Prospector Pete's ancestor.
Gold Fever.
Who was a torturer and put people on the bell slider.
Yeah, different
Victorian times. Yeah. Anyway, if you're passionate about game design and lasted beyond the 30-minute mark of this podcast, don't forget to subscribe. Did you like that? There's a hint.
I got it. Yeah, I understood what you did. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you like that? Don't forget to subscribe. Based on that joke, you might immediately unfollow us now.
Yeah.
Told you our downloads will go down.
Oh no.
Minus.
But yeah, please leave us nice reviews, share us on social media, and tell your friends about us. We are at Should Play Pod on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, and YouTube. So we've gone quite social now. The first few episodes was like, follow us on social media. We don't have any, but now it's like we've almost got too many.
Yeah.
We've upgraded all of our social media to max. Join in the conversation there and suggest games that you'd like us to feature in future episodes. Before I forget, you can play along with Batman Arkham Asylum. Email us your comments, questions on Arkham Asylum to shouldplaypodcast@gmail.com. Use the subject Arkham Asylum.
Why not Batman?
Well, I just thought, fine. All right, fine. Email us with the subject Batman. Email us anything, any subject, because we don't get any emails.
It's too late. They just closed it. They've written out a full email and they've already sent it.
Just send the email. We'll read it. Or if you've even just got general feedback on the podcast, we'd love to hear from you. But all that's left for us to say is thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye.